It is April 20th at 1 p.m. I hereby call the Kandiyohi County Board of Commissioners back in session.
You're back in session, yep.
Yep, okay, and at this point, I would like to call on Mr. Mel Odens.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I promised you that we'd consider the award of 2 bids from this morning. So I would like to go ahead of the road and bridge agenda and recommend award.
Okay, let's see here.
Okay.
Get that paper out.
So we were able to go through the bids this is County Road 1 in Prindsburg. And it's our recommendation to award it to Dunnick Incorporated from Prindsburg in the as-read amount of $1,374,443.43.
Okay, 1,374,443.75 is what I.
75 cents, yeah.
Or 75, whatever. I might have
I'll throw in the extra 40 cents, or whatever it was.
So our recommendation is to award it to Dunnick Incorporated.
I will move that we take that recommendation.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen to award the bid number 034-601-037, if I'm correct, project.
And I'll second that.
And a second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further questions or comments? None, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
And then the second one is the bridge on County Road 16, SAP 34-616002. And our recommendation is to award it to Hooley Excavating out of Little Falls for the as-read amount of $168,752.50.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept.
A motion by Commissioner Anderson to accept that bid.
I'll second
And a second by Commissioner Amdek. Any further questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
All right, Mr. Chair, now I would refer you to the agenda for the road and bridge meeting. We, just as a frame of reference, what's that?
Yeah, I'm going to close the county board
I'm
meeting,
sorry.
and then we'll move forward. So if no more further bids or comments, and I hereby close the Kandiyohi County Board session. Now I hereby open the Kandiyohi County Board of Commissioners Bridge and Road Committee work session.
Yep.
And
Okay.
please proceed, Mr.
So you have in front of you an agenda. Also, what you got is, I'm going to give you a series of handouts as we go. We have, it seems to be a lot of paper if you do it all at once, so we're going to go as we go.
Okay.
So the first one is a 11 by 17 sheet, and it's what we're doing, the construction this year. And one thing before I start, we do 3 road and bridge meetings throughout the year, and sometimes 4. The spring one, or the March, April one, is looking forward, is the theme of that one. We look at the 5-year program, we look at what's coming up on the horizon, we look at our funding, we look at how costs have been coming in, we look at all of the available funds, useful life of roads, useful life of parks, joint projects that we're working with MnDOT, the city on, whatever, the Wilmer Y, all these things. And then we also look at the condition of the road based how we kind of came out of the winter. Okay, so we put all that together and we try and assemble looking forward how we predict it best we can. That's the theme of today's meeting, so I don't want to focus a lot on yesterday or the bids we just opened, because that was kind of,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
But I do always like to give you a summary of what we're going to be doing this summer. So I don't want to confuse you on that, but the majority of today is going to be for looking forward. Okay. Then in July, when we do our meeting, it's the budget meeting. Then we look at just year one, or would be in this case 2022. And then in the fall, we do a tour
Okay.
of what we just built. So does that kind of logistically give you a mental picture of what we're doing? So This sheet that you have in front of you, I believe it's up on the board as well. It will be. I'm just going to go real highlight. We're not going to go segment by segment, but what you've got in front of you is 98 miles worth of road improvements. We have 650 miles. So it looks, and then we have 2 bridges. It looks like a lot of color, okay? But the reality of it is in order to maintain our system, we need to do 9 miles of reconstruction and 15 miles of overlay, along with all the maintenance, okay? If you go down, we're doing 8.7 miles of reconstruction. So it might look like a lot, it might feel like a lot, but it's needed to keep up. And you're gonna see later on in the agenda, a map that maybe shows another story. Bituminous paving, we need to do 15 to keep up. We're doing 19, so we're doing 4 miles. The reason that we were able to do another 2 miles is because we had a little bit of an open winter. So that helped us. So we're within 2 miles of being where we should be. We're seal coating 26 miles, and we're crack sealing 44 miles. We're doing 2 bridges. The one we just awarded on 16, the one we're going to award up by Regal in 2 weeks on County Road 2. It's a federal project. And then what's not shown on here, but we are going to be doing is we're looking at doing 3 quotes, which was in our budget. We're looking at doing a culvert replacement on County Road 68 up on the North County line. It's the kind of the joint road with Stearns County. We've also got an in-slope on County Road 25 by King Lake, north of his house. At the corner of 41 and 25, we're losing the in-slope there, so we're going to do a quote to fix that. And then Edwards Township has got a bridge that we're looking to get rid of with the bridge in lieu of funds. So there's no bridge replacement, just a bridge removal. So with that, I think and then the rest of this, it shows the length, what the project was, who the contractor was, and the cost. So you've got just a cheat sheet. If you're driving around and you want to know what's up, and you keep this in your vehicle, or whatever you do, take a picture, have it on your phone. The only one we got left to do is County Road 44 in the southern part of the district, or in the southern part of the county. That's the only one that hasn't let yet. So, any questions on this? This is a summary of yesterday.
Wow. Any questions, comments from the board? Yeah, like you said, you look at the map and you look at all this, it's pretty aggressive. That's good.
It's where we need to be, and you're going to see later on.
We're really busy, yes. And there's more to come, yeah.
All right.
I'd like to commend you and your department and your staff about being on top of it and this 5-year planning you're doing, and we're staying on top of the roads and stay ahead of the game.
No, I appreciate it.
Some areas don't stay ahead of the game, and you can't get caught up then. No,
I will say publicly here, we do have good staff here.
Yeah.
People are willing to work the extra hour, try and maintain a system. There's a lot of ownership. There's a lot of, just say ownership. I think that's the best way. They want to present a good product. They want to go home and know that what they presented was what you want to see, and so is the public. The public's got an expectation. Mm-hmm. It puts a burden on all of us as staff, and likewise with you as county commissioners. But yes, and we do appreciate any kind words. So the next one is, so any other questions? That's just a good summary of where we are.
Very good.
But 44, you said that's got to be let yet, right?
Correct. That's May 4.
Okay, next meeting, basically.
Yep. So we'll have to handwrite that one on there. We probably won't hand out a new sheet unless you want it, but, you know. All right, so number 2 is the Wilmer Y update. Can you zoom in on this, Larry? It'll be up on your screen as well. Out.
There's no handout on this one, right?
Oh, yeah, there will be.
Oh,
This is a tactical stall. That's good. Yep. No, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, so up on your screen and on in front of you, we had 5 tracts of land that all was a result of the negotiations with the Wilmer Y project. The Wilmer Y project has been going on for a number of years. There's a lot that went into the master agreement. Everybody did their part, if you will. One of our parts was acquisition of right-of-way in lieu of cash outlay. We kind of traded that, if you will. And so what ended up happening is that we were, in some cases, we bought land, and in some cases, we received land. So what you've got in front of you is the land. Some of it's bought, some of it's received. But now that we own this land, we need to do something with it. So we put it out for quotes for land lease, for crops. The first one, the aggregate sum of these 5 tracts is 133 acres, is what we have. Tract number 1 is in the vicinity, the southern part of the Wilmer Y, kind of down toward 23. That's 84 acres. The access to that will be through that MnDOT deeded us some land in that kind of a boneyard salt shed spot they had down there. And so that's the access to that. So what we did on that one is our intention is to sell that property. We were going to try and get it sold this spring, didn't work. Too many things going on. So we're going to do 1-year lease on that. The leases will be opened on April 29, and we'll be taking them to the county board for approval on May 4. So you'll see this again. But I just wanted, yes.
The white area inside of that tract, what is that, owned by us already?
No, that's owned by a private party, and some of it's owned by the state.
Okay, and then that little hashtag looks like an easement out to the road?
That's access easement.
Okay.
Yep. So this one is a 1-year lease, 84 acres. Okay, tract number 2. I'll just maybe move this, Larry, and you. Okay. Tract number 2 is just west of the new Highway 12. And then tract number 3 is just east of the new Highway 12. And that property acquisition was a result of a buyout of some property that Burlington Northern actually gave us 2, 3, and tract 4.
Oh.
And so they had pre-purchased that, and they deeded that to us as a part of the negotiated settlement. So those are 3-year leases. 2, 3, and 4 up there are 3-year leases. And then tract 5 on the very bottom again is a tract of land inside where we're going to do a 3-year lease, but that's where we bought the land. It's going to be part of the County Road 55 overpass bridge project. Mm-hmm. So that's the Wilmer Y update. You know, is there any questions on this? So 3-year leases for the small ones, 1-year lease for the large ones.
how many acres were they?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Gardner had his hand up first.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mel, long-term tracks 2, 3, and 4, any plans for those at this time?
No.
Or is it simply just going to be held and
No, Larry and I have talked, I think it would be, Roger, like an economic development opportunity would be something, we have I certainly don't want to be the steward or the overseer of land like that, so.
I should think that specifically tract 4 might have some value, being that it's fronting, or excuse me, I'm reading that wrong. That's the tract, never mind. So, but I do see that 3 is right directly south of the storage buildings.
That's 22 acres.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, what were the acres of them that you tracked?
Total acres is 133 acres.
Yep, but like, tract 1 was 84, tract 2 is, or don't, I think tract 3 you said was 22 acres?
I believe so. So I
No, track 3 is 40 acres.
no.
Come on.
So I think, well, we don't want to say I think.
Track 3
Yeah.
is 22, I believe.
Yep, then we had a 7 acre and a 9 acre.
Yeah.
They're
track
pretty
2 is
small.
9,
Tract 4 is 7, I believe.
so 7, yeah.
And then tract 5 is 4,
6.
6 acres. So if that doesn't add up to 133, then adjust one.
I was just curious.
Okay, no.
No, we can, in all seriousness though, why don't we get you the right number? I mean, you know what I mean? Or just get you the sheet. I just doing this because, Larry and I and dealt with the chair on, like we want to lease this land, but not, the whole board doesn't know. And I thought this would be a great opportunity. It just hit the paper and we're not going to open it until the 29th and it's going to come back on May 4th for your approval. So I just wanted you to know the logic behind what we're doing here.
Yep.
But we will get you the numbers. We will.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess if there's the Wilmer Y, generally speaking, the detours on should be done this week for the connections. And then the bridge is decked and they're probably going to be pouring the false work is up. And then I think the railroad is going to be letting for bid their work in a month, right in there. It's coming up, and then I believe their plan to start late June, early July is a general time frame. But they still have some approvals to do, so it could change.
Okay.
So, any questions on the Wilmer line? The main part was the leases.
Not apparently.
Okay.
Good.
Now we have the 5-year construction plan.
How many trees did you cut out?
Yep. I think we could do this up here.
Sure.
I don't
The
know.
only thing is on those, you can't put them in. Thank you. You got something very close.
Okay, wait.
Oh, I'm so happy I brought my cheaters. Ugh, I should have cleaned them first.
Thanks, Lord.
What we can do here.
All right, so this is what we have for the 5-year program. And what we do is we try and take all the federal money, the state money, the levy money, the wheelage tax, and any other LRIP money, any other dollars that we have, and we extend it out as far as we can. The first thing you're going to probably see is this is the first year we throw 2025 onto the screen, if you will. It looks pretty sparse right now because we don't populate it yet because we're still waiting on response of some money. Okay? But every year it's going to start looking like year 1 and 2 almost inevitably. So if you look, what I like to do is I try to highlight maybe the anchor projects or the key projects that we have in each year, and then we backfill with your overlay projects, your maintenance projects, if you will, your ride quality. But this is where, when I started the meeting, when we look at all the main 4 factors of available funds. What do we have for useful life of the road? How did it come through the winter? What do we need to balance with other projects in this county? Because there's always projects that come up that we adjust our 5-year program. So I'm going to highlight for 2022 is we're going to zero in on 2022 in our June, July meeting, but let's just for a minute, let's just go there. The first one under grading, middle of your sheet, is the 1.4 mile piece of County Road 2 from Highway 23. It's the piece of 106 by Howick. You can either look, and maybe it would be easiest if you could look at the sheet with all of the dollars on it.
We're in year 2022.
2022, yep.
Oh, that one.
2021 it's to these guys now, and I'm gone on. Sounds.
1 and 3.
So if you look in the middle of your sheet, you see the 1.4 miles of under construction grading County Road 2. You see that?
Yep.
Could you have it highlighted on the monitor as well, on your monitors?
Okay.
Find it? Yep. So that's a project that needs to stay in 2022 because that is directly tied to the Corridors of Commerce Highway 23 Gap project. So this was our, is a direct result of that project. They're dumping down onto 106. It's not a 10-ton road. So we're going to rebuild for $840,000 that piece of road. Okay. One thing to note, and we won't find out until May, but we did apply for state bonding money on that. LRIP. You might remember we made that application by March 30. We brought it to our March 2nd meeting, I believe. The next one is County Road 4, just skip one, and that would be from Lake Lillian up to where this year's work starts on County Road 4. That one needs to stay in 2022. You follow that? That's going to link up with this year's construction by Lake Lillian. So the one in the middle, the County Road 1 from 40 to 9 is up in the Raleigh's district. It's up on the west side of West Norway Lake. That would be one that we've been kind of fluctuating around, but we're going to leave it in 2022 because we feel comfortable that we can fund it there. But the other two, and then another one in there is the County Road 40, the New London Safety Project, at $3.5 million. That's the sales tax. County Road 40 across the Peterson property that ties into the country stop at the J-turn in New London. That involves, we'll talk about that later, but it involves pedestrian underpass and cutting across the property. it's an economic development and economic opportunity is what we called it in the sales tax presentations.
Yeah, I think we should touch bases on that later.
Yep. It's got a touch of safety in it. So that's the main stuff. But once again, we're doing 8.6 miles. We need to do 9. You know, it looks like a lot. And then if you add up the bituminous overlay and the new, we're at 16.4 miles. So we're right where we need to be. But if you look on the very bottom, we're still in the red, 800 and some thousand in the red. Now, how do we correct that? We correct that by hoping we get some of this bonding money, the LRIP money. And we also hope we get good bids, and we also hope there's no reduction in revenue like there was this year. So what we do is we always overprogram by $1 million or so, because then when you get an open winter and you get some good bids like we had this year, you can maximize your funding sources that you have allocated to use versus pushing it down the road. So that's the logic that I go under, and I guess I'm comfortable with that if this body is. So it looks like it's overprogrammed. It is overprogrammed, but this year we're to a point where I think we're going to be plus or minus a couple $100,000 to breaking even on a $13 million construction year. So I think that's about as close as you're going to get on plus minus, you know, but I also don't like to kick another $1 million down the road either, where you could have just built something because the money was laying there. So, okay. 2023. Now, the first, we're going to just stick with grading, okay? Do you follow me on that? Because the bituminous is somewhat flexible because it's, we move it around to fill in the holes because we have a lot of roads we could do, but we try to make it. County Road 44 is a federal job. It's from the South County line north to Highway 7. We were able to get federal money. Are you following where that one is? Under 2023, 3.2 miles. And incidentally, these are color-coded, like we're under this,
Pretty cool.
Jeremy. So we got federal money for 44, so that needs to stay in 23. The one that we moved out of 22, which Commissioner Anderson might need to be aware of, but it's our recommendation to 119, the one that cuts across on the south side of Lake Wakanda. We had agreed in past road and bridge meetings that that's a wheelage tax project. Well, our wheelage tax fund isn't sufficient to handle it all. Plus, the other projects that we need to do in 2022 feel like maybe it's appropriate because the funding is short and we're pretty booked up for next year to move it one more year or move it out 1 year. But I just wanted you to be aware of that because it has shown up in 2022 in the past. Okay. But I just wanted to point that out because we've been working with some landowners out there. They know it's coming. We've talked to them. We've gotten alignment. I believe it's state or had some lath out there.
Yeah,
It's
they're still finishing up some topo.
We've surveyed for the most part. We've started it, but we just feel like we don't know about the LRIP money for next year for the Howick project. And we're just a little concerned about the New London project. And we just figured that this project is more of not an extra project, but it's a project that is a larger project. Does that make sense? We're cutting across farm fields. It's a major relocation of a road. So,
Mr. Kleindahl.
Were we working with the townships on 119?
yeah, yep.
You want, for Dwayne's sake, you want to kind of give them a little,
Well, yeah, other than you know, like we're working with them. We haven't had, we've not formal meetings, but we'll communicate with them. and the property owners out there. Not all the property owners, but the major ones
Okay.
are aware of it. But what we would do is we would probably basically start the process of open houses, engagement meetings, you know. So it's not like it's gonna just go dormant. It's just, it's our recommendation to move it to 23, so we can have a more of a formal logistical process to iron out any issues that we might have along there, because it is a relocation of a road. Right now, it's a zigzag chain or a sawtooth type thing, and we want to. So, any questions on that? Going to 2024. The main one is the County Road 55 grade separation is kind of our main anchor project there. That's the project on the south end of the Y. We've asked for bond money for twice. We'll ask for it again for the third time. We also will be looking to apply for federal funds, and it's also a local option sales tax project. So that's our main project we'd like to do in 2024. The County Road 4, from where we are leaving off this year up to Highway 12, we were going to try and do that in 23, but I think that's going to have to slip to 24, because that road is, it's in good condition. It's just that it's got the usual steeper end slopes, but the ride is bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's definitely 1 year isn't going to hurt. We don't think 1 year is going to hurt that road. Any comments on 2024?
Well,
And then the last one is 2025, where we didn't want to do this, but we're looking to get federal funds for County Road 7. That's up in the area of the dairy west of town, from Highway 40 north to 12. We've been applying for federal funds because that definitely would, that project would qualify for federal funds, and so we put in for federal funds on that twice. And so we're hoping that we get federal funds. Once again, the drive isn't that bad. It's just that it's got steep end slopes and narrow shoulders. But it's actually a good 10-ton road. And then the other one is County Road 20, from County Road 8 over to 2. And that project would be to kind of clean up the area of 8, 4, and 2, and 20. And 2, I guess. So that's like where we are. If you look at this, map, this is graphically what it looks like. You can see where we threw the overlays in to try and line up with money, try and line up with detours, trying to line up with logistics, pretty much is what we do. Road condition. So yeah, that's our 5-year projects. So one thing that maybe I should point out, and when I'm looking at the map, if you look at, and this is something I should have pointed out earlier, if you look at next year, 2022, if you look at project number 9 in the light blue on the map, that's the radio station road.
Yep.
We're looking to do a full depth reclamation and overlay on that. That road's in terrible condition.
That is.
Okay, so that would be one I want to point out. And then another one I want to point out is number 11
On 2022?
That's in town.
on 2022,
Okay.
correct. Yep. We would look to mill and overlay from the old airport, County Road 5, all the way to First Street. that piece of Wilmer Avenue. Those are two, maybe projects that in the city commissioner, and then, we would be looking at doing the very, east end of Wilmer Avenue, if you will, maybe even in 2025. But that one can wait a little longer, but the west end. And then up by the high school in 2023, that's another one that, number 6 in 2023. That's another one that is in bad condition. Is that an FDR? The full depth reclamation. What we mean by full depth reclamation, for those that you may not be aware, you actually mill the bituminous on the top and you grab some of the gravel below it and you mill it all as one. And then you reclaim that product and lay it back down and then you overlay that. So you keep the strength of the oil mixture, fractured rock, from the bituminous and your gravel. So now you have even a better condition than what you had. And then you do a 4-inch plus overlay over that.
So, Mr. Chair,
Mr. Anderson,
if I'm understanding it, then that road will be 4 inches higher in that area than what it was, no?
Well,
Spread that out further.
we would do it, but you bring a good point. What we do sometimes is we take an inch off in terms of like, well, we might mill an inch off or something for the very reason you just said, because we don't want to mess with the end slopes. But it's like what we did on County Road 8. Same exact thing.
So then, if I may follow up, if in that area, and I'm not aware that that area does have that, but if it, in an area you've got some stability issues, you'd put fabric down, I suppose, in those, like if it's frost boils or something.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't think we have too much up there. The road's just not in good condition. And then we also, we want to reevaluate turn lanes and make sure we have everything up there that we want. So that's the plan. So if this, I don't think we need a formal approval, but if you generally agree with our logic, then what we would do now is we would focus in on what we have in 2022 for our next meeting and use this as a background to that. If that's, yes.
Commissioner Nissen.
I just have a quick, I see a number 4 here on 2025, and I see a little green line up by Green Lake, but I don't see a number 4 up there. I'm assuming that's
Oh. It's probably.
right next to number 10 as you.
Yep.
Is that the trail?
Yep. Yes. Yep. And that's a federal project. So that stays there. Yes. Good point.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner
And you may be addressing this later, but you've got this 5-year plan out here, Mel, and as we are considering this 5-year plan, or I should say, as you are considering the 5-year plan, and right now there's conversations going on at the federal level for a lot of money to be infused into infrastructure. Is that part of your whole process here to, you know, if we're lucky enough to get some money in the county to do that, you're already thinking about those?
Yep.
Or do we just accelerate what we've got here? Because we only
No.
got so much staff.
No, we're thinking, we got 2 projects that we would use it on.
Okay.
That we're thinking of, and they've got to be federally eligible. You've got to have all the proper numbers to qualify. And we do have a SAM number, I checked. We do have a DUNS number, so we're ready to go. But we probably would, number one, the trail that you just pointed out is underfunded by $300,000. So that would be one that we could look at. Another one is County Road 7 on the west, basically from 7 north. We could all the way to Sunburn. You
Yeah, and
could,
I'm
you
not-
could put money on all of that.
I'm not trying to, count chickens or anything like that, but,
Yep.
you have to keep in mind as you do your long-term planning is,
Right, and if you also notice on 2022, we purposely overprogrammed it. We're actually advancing money and we're still 1,800,000 in the red. But advanced money is a strategy to use that's very common, even though we've only used it. We put it in there, but we've only actually used it once. Because we either get good bids or we get other funds. And if we can show that we have the need, you a lot of times you qualify for funds.
thank you.
Any other question?
Mr. Odens, maybe this is not the time to talk about, but as long as you brought up funding and revenue options, I'm looking at the optional sales tax. When does that end?
It ends when your project are funded. In our case, is how we left it. Or, and I brought a resolution.
So for,
But do we want to
example-
talk about it right now?
well, sure, so for example, the 55 bridge, if we don't get bonding for it, we have committed with our local option sales tax to pay for our share of that bridge. But we know because it's a freight traffic corridor, we need to somehow get it. So 2 times so far, we put it in for bonding money, we have not gotten it. So the odds are in a non-bonding year, will we get funding this year? I don't know. So that if we could use local option sales tax to cover that, but there's no, right now, because that's how we have it. So if we could actually have our local option sales tax stay in place until that bridge was paid for. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think so.
And then maybe you want to,
So this is going to segue into an other, but I did want to bring this up. This is the map of projects that we
Oh, as long as you,
are doing with local option sales tax and projects that are under consideration that we cannot get into the 5-year plan right here. We just can't get them in there. Because of the theories that we used before, we're working with the corridors of commerce. We're working with the warmer Y. We're working with all these projects, and then we have our own needs, and then you put some bituminous in there. If you look here, we did 4 projects in our first local option sales tax. The very first project we did was County Road 40, up in the northwestern part of the county. The next one we're doing is County Road 44 this year, down in the southern part of the county, from 7 up to Big Candy. The one we're doing next year is County Road 40, the piece by the country stop. And then the last one in 2024 is County Road 55, or the overpass. And we did that based on the bypass and economic development. So roads that we just can't get to is County Road. We start on the left side of the sheet and go to the right. County Road 7 from, basically, for that matter, you could go all the way down Highway 7 if you wanted to. That road needs, it's gonna, when I talk about the depreciation curve, it's starting to get where it's gonna take 3 to 4 times the dollar to achieve what you should do today. What $1 would do today, it's gonna take 4 times that to do it tomorrow. That's 7. It's 7's starting to get there. County Road 27 needs regraded. And we have a bridge on the bridge resolution that needs replaced. The little dot there is a bridge. Drop down a little bit south.
oh, yeah, I know.
County Road 3 from Raymond over to 71. needs regraded. Can't make the trip.
When we applied to do the local option sales tax, though, there were only four projects that we submitted, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
So these are, would we have to do a different?
You have to have a public hearing and you do it if you ever did that.
Yep. This is something that we wanted to just show you, okay? I mean, so it, you know, when you look at this year's work or this work, and that's why I keep pointing out, it's like, we are doing what we need to do, but these roads can't even make the list. And if you ever drive these roads, you'll know what I mean. County Road 3, and then the one that we put in here, it's because it's probably our biggest heavy commercial bridge, County Road 1, the bridge by the beet piler. I don't know if you get any calls on that, but I do. It's a posted bridge. It was built in the early to mid 70s, and it's right by the beet piler. So in order for the trucks to get there, they have to go around. And we monitor it pretty close. So they go around. One thing, if we're looking to just solve a problem, we'd put it in a box. So we put it on there, just for your thoughts. Okay? Food for thought. Let's go up to the old airport, County Road 5, gone across the old airport with the Wilmer Y being completed. That road is also going to be 20 years old. It was built in 2005. Would be one that we need to mill and overlay just for purposes of, you know, it's an industrial park. County Road 23, it's the east end of Homer Avenue from First Street East over to the bypass. That's going to be due for a good mill and overlay. It isn't due now, but it will be in 4 or 5 years. It'll be there. And then if you go way up to the right, it's County Road 10 and 39. It goes up to the Tri-County Road. That road is the only piece from all the way down in the very south into the county, all the way to the north. That's the only piece that will not be done after this year or next year. So that's a road, if you drive that road much, you'll know when you hit that road too. You can tell it's just rough and it's like, this isn't normal, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to show you, because Larry had asked me to maybe have some dialogue. You know, what we've done, you know, can you demonstrate there's still a need? And so I feel there is a need, but that's got to be a decision that we all collectively make.
Councilor Endick.
Well, you know, we continue to hold out hope that something comes out of the proposed infrastructure bill, jobs bill, whatever they want to call it. But I don't think we can afford to get behind the 8 ball on these roads. I mean, you were just talking about County Road 7, where it starts to get to where it's going to cost 2 and 3 times the amount to do the work if we let it get too far behind. I don't think we can afford to do that. So, I mean, otherwise it just snowballs.
Yeah, and
Because while we finally go in and fix that one, use more funds than we should, something else gets put behind. So somehow we're going to have to figure out how to get this funding done so that we can stay on top of these projects. I don't know for the new guys if it would be helpful, and maybe now's not the time, but when you describe the number of miles that we have every year, and if we want to reclaim them every 50 years or every 20 on bituminous, we have to get through so many miles a year in order for that to stay on that schedule. And so
yeah,
whatever it takes, I think we have to stay on top.
And, you know, I will say that at the last road and bridge meeting, we dedicated some maintenance dollars toward crack filling and seal coating. We took a little bit more of an aggressive approach to maintenance because we're feeling, because we're like up on 7 north of Sunburg, we're doing another $32,000 worth of a little more of a mastic crack fill, because the joints are starting to cup. They're starting to get larger than a normal crack fill. And that's a large number of miles over there. And then south of Raymond is just not holding up. And then another road that it's not even on here, but County Road 31 from King's Auto over to 2 is, you want to use it for a detour, but that's another road that's
Okay.
showing wear. Anyway, yeah.
Mr. Administrator Kleindall.
So our job is to make sure you understand what projects are coming up, so we do long-term planning. One thing this county board has always done is be prepared for what's going to be coming up. And so by laying the groundwork of, here's what's coming up, what are we going to need to do to figure this out? And so just like we do with our capital improvement plans with our buildings, the same thing you do with the roads. And for the newer commissioners, oftentimes commissioners get asked, well, you're doing that road, and that road's not that bad, or it's not that old. And oftentimes they're 20, 30, 50 years old and haven't had a replacement. Our job is to do long-term planning and make sure we have the resources to do it. And so by having these conversations now, there's no big surprises when we actually have to have these serious conversations. You've had time to talk to your people. You've had time to digest what are our options. Why would you want to do it? Why would you not want to do it? That's what this is about. And so by laying this out, it allows you to do some long-term planning. One of the things that doesn't show on these maps, I'll use County Road 40, for example. We would have had to do County Road 40 regardless, whether it would have been on property tax levy or other funds. We would have had to do that. Well, by having this local option sales tax, we were able to do County Road 29, and if you've seen what we had to do on County Road 29, it was started a long time ago and it was never completed. When you start working it, there was such a wet spot, mud spot, the fabric and overlay they had to put into it was tremendous. Well, we would have held that off. We wouldn't have done that road because we had County Road 40 was a higher priority. But because of your ability to utilize all your tools in the toolbox, not just the ones that are the most popular, it gives you an opportunity to do long-term planning so you don't have this your mess. And as people continue to want to live out in the country and continue to work from home, the rural area is no longer just, the farm family. It's a road to work type business. People work from home, work in rural areas.
Commissioner Nissen.
Just a quick question on the County Road 5 and the County Road 23 sections. They're actually in the city of Wilmer. Do we get some help from them, or is that our baby because it just goes through their town?
We historically have paid for the roadway work. And then they do urban work. So a lot of times what cities will do is they might fix a water service or a sewer service or replace a manhole or maybe do some, we do the ADA and the road work. So sometimes, like on 19th Avenue, they wanted to add some flashing lights for the schools and they wanted to do some trail work and they wanted to do a water main work. I mean, so we always work with them. Yep. But we do the lion's share of the road cost. Yep.
Maintenance too? Oh, sorry.
Commissioner Nick.
Maintenance too?
Well, we have a maintenance agreement with the city of Wilmer in this case. It's $1,500 a mile. So they do the maintenance.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to piggyback on what Commissioner Imdeck just had to say. The idea that we're hoping for some funding from the federal government at some point in time is nice. But we've got to keep in mind that the federal government and the state government for years have woefully underfunded road and bridge construction. The backlog is tremendous. And it naturally falls to us, I believe, to do the next right thing and pick up the slack wherever we can. I want to commend Mel and his staff for everything that they're doing. He's literally maximizing every dollar that's available to us, and I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing.
Appreciate it.
I'd like to comment that as taxpayers that, we don't like taxes, especially like optional sales tax. But you certainly have pointed out, and I was not part of passing that or on the board at that time, but those dollars went to good use, and you can really prove that people's dollars went there. And it was nice, it wasn't just all Kandiyohi County taxpayers' dollars.
Yep, it gets political because it's,
Yeah, I know.
you know what I mean?
So it is, but it's something we got to address sooner or later, where we're going to go on that if we want to continue. But
So,
it's not the time now, I'm sure, but
so we point this out, so like Larry said, talk to constituents, use these maps. This is what we're recommending to the county board. And then this is what, it's adjustable, as you saw, where we move a road out or move something back. But as a general rule, this is where we're gonna go when we apply for dollars, when we try and get in line, if you will, to working with other entities and townships and whatever. So this is the logic we're using right here.
I've heard you sometimes refer to some of the dollars that you have available, not necessarily these dollars, but these count that too, is that the advantage of which your planning is done so well that you use those dollars to leverage for more dollars.
We do that all the time.
And this would be part of that too.
Correct.
It gives you more leverage.
Yep. If I know that the county board, it gives me a lot of confidence to know that if the county board approves this 5-year plan and the revenues that are tied to it, that there's a pretty good odds that if I apply for money to do 20%, and I reduce my 100% levy dollars to 20%, that you probably will back that resolution. You know what I mean? Because, you know what I mean? So So it gives you it gives me an incentive to go after money. That's what it does for me.
And we get better roads.
And
Or more
we
better
get
roads, let's put it that way.
$1 million a year.
Okay, thank you.
So that's it. So I don't know that we need feel free to do whatever you want to do, but I don't know we need like a motion. But this is going to be the basis for the budgeting then, is where I'm at.
Yeah, and this is a work session. I don't think we can vote
Okay.
for a motion at this point, so.
Yep.
But I just want to also make a question. Do you have a computer program for this? Because I don't know how you could present this and make it somewhat understandable.
Probably pay Jeremy to bring.
Jeremy,
Well-
honestly, Jeremy's got to get a lot of credit for this. He does it
Okay.
very, very pictorially, makes it look very easy to look at.
Yeah, well,
Except for the 4 that we forgot. I think he's done.
well, very well done and very forward thinking and well explained. Any
All right.
further questions or comments of Bill?
I'll just say this, I often refer back to township days and stuff, but when we talk roads at the annual township meeting, that's probably one of the things that gets the most interest in all the
Sure.
township supervisors and attendees at the annual meeting for township, so.
Yep. So yeah, feel free to bring this. Yep.
Anything else?
Well, I can just, Meeker County had a very good engineer, maybe not as good as Mel here, but the county board were in the squeaky, no spend any money mode. And I think he either gave up fighting them or anyway, the Meeker County roads are not as good as ours, the county roads. And that's the result of not planning or pinching pennies too hard, because that's easy to do. It's easy to get into that mindset, but someday you have to pay the piper. So anyway, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Emden.
I always use the analogy because a lot of people don't understand the roads, and I didn't either. That idea of staying on top of them. You can use your roof on your house as one of those ideas. And, you know, as the shingles deteriorate and they deteriorate, you can look up and say, well, it's still shedding water until that day when you finally decide to pull those shingles off and you find out the plywood underneath is rotten
Is it?
too.
Yeah.
Then it's a lot more expensive than it would have been if you'd have replaced the shingles when they needed to be, or should have been replaced. So
Good point.
homeowners understand that
Yeah,
better than.
yeah, yeah.
Some people, I was in the insurance business, some people wait for a hailstorm to repair their roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insurance companies gotten smarter too on that. They put an age limit on.
So, all right,
Okay,
I will turn this over to.
okay,
I'm gonna go grab a coffee.
okay, yes. Yeah, it's a work session. Time for coffee refills here in the transition.
Oh, we got more stuff.
Oh, you're being more efficient. This is how you're being more efficient.
Here,
Did you hand that out?
yep, I did.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Miller, it looks like we have handouts from you in front of
Yeah.
us. Please proceed.
Should have 4 handouts of the big sheets. One of the little ones. That kind of shows our schedule and whatnot, how we go throughout the year. As most of you know, that we've had a very good winter. We saved a few dollars there, which was a good thing for us. And excuse my 2 pairs of glasses because I need bifocals.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah, it works. But we're in the month of April here now, and we've started our reclaiming process on our roads. And we have a map on that. It's the second one. I didn't get them in the right order, but we are 2 days away from completion of this project of the 80 miles, which would be a total of 160 because of both ways. But with us doing this process with our blacktop roads, we're hoping we can do this 2 to 3 times through 2 to 3 years rather than shouldering, because just this year we saved $139,000 doing that compared to adding more gravel to them.
Can you tell me what the reclaiming is?
Yeah, I was just.
Oh,
Yeah.
I might be the
I'm
only
sorry.
one that knows.
okay.
I was thinking that same thing.
Yeah, sorry.
Right,
Reclaiming
no.
is, we go with 2 discs and it pulls the gravel. Usually over time, the gravel sinks away from the pad. So and then it kind of leaves a curb gutter there. So we take discs and we pull that back and cut up the sod, re-slope it all, and so it's leveled off again. So it's all safety concerns. You know, you get that big ledge and you start falling off your car, you know, things go wrong. So
Can I ask-
Commissioner Endek.
And how is that different than shouldering,
shouldering, we're
adding new gravel to it?
Yep, there's just not enough there to pull back to do the job.
So basically, Mr. Chairman, if I understand it right, it's just a disc that's angled in a way that it just when you run it along the shoulder, kind of the grass edge of the road,
Yep.
it just pulls it right back up alongside the.
Yeah, it hooks on our tractor. We got one for our blade that hooks onto the moldboard, and they angle it out there, and it's.
Is that new one you had demonstrated out in the parking lot?
No, that was the road groom.
Oh,
That's a different thing.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's for our gravel road maintenance where we don't have to run the blade across it all the time.
Ah, yeah, all right.
So it really helps out. It works great. It was a
Okay.
fantastic purchase. It was a really good deal. Get twice as much done in a day. So, but anyways, that's our reclaiming. that's why we do all that, to help save money there. And with that money we saved, we're able to add gravel to County Road 138 this year. Build that up, because it's kind of a sandier road. There's not much rock in it. And we're gonna do some on 17. I don't have maps for that.
Okay.
That's just something with things, with the money that we're saving, that little projects we can do.
Where's 138? You said 138?
138 is between 10 and 98, east of Green Lake,
Oh, okay.
south of Calhoun Lake, kind of in that area. Would be,
134, 137.
excuse me, yeah, 138. Where is it? I can't even find it.
South Calhoun.
Yeah,
And just a little side note on 138, that was our first wheelage tax project.
okay.
That was the first project that we did with wheelage tax.
That's about 6 years ago, right?
More than that.
Oh,
Is it?
yeah.
Good question, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's been since I'm a commissioner though, and I'm in
Did
my
you find
ninth
it?
year, so.
No, I'm still looking.
Okay.
I can't see that.
See County Road 2?
So, yeah. Is it
Where are his
98?
glasses?
Or,
I got.
You know where the
I
Harrison
still
Church
can't
is?
see it. Yeah, I know it.
2 miles from County Road 2.
Yeah, you know where the
the
Harrison
west.
Church is?
138, I see it here.
no, not really. I see 98. I don't see 130.
No, that's right. 98, and it runs south of 98
Here's Lake
to,
Calhoun.
to County Road 10.
Here's 10.
Yep.
Oh, it's north-south road.
It's
Okay,
going north
I
and
see.
south, yeah. This one's a little
You know
easier
Chris
to
Farms
see.
is?
This one's easier to see than this.
Chris? No,
Chris Farms?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I got it right here.
Okay. So that's what we're into right now. Shouldering will be a little later in the year, when road restrictions will go off and whatnot. Then a couple of the other projects that we haven't started yet that were let out for bid is our seal coat. I put a map in there of that. So you guys know where they're going to be doing that this year. Pearson Brothers got that bid.
Did you say seal coat?
Yep. Be the third one.
Okay. I never use that.
And like County Road 23, between 8 and 4, that's going to be crack filled this year also,
Okay.
prior to the seal coating.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yep, proceed, Commissioner Emdek.
seal coating and crack filling. I mean, we're looking at County Road 40, which was just built, what, 5 years ago, 4 years ago? And it's already due for crack filling. So what's kind of the difference there between seal coating and crack filling?
Crack filling is the routing of the crack 3/4 by 3/4. Putting
You
in
put that rubber
material in.
kind of
Yep.
gasket in there, peel the white paper off of it.
Yes.
The other one is a spray-on kind of a thing.
Yep. Spray on and they put granite chips on there. Yeah. Powder.
The cheap stuff.
Mhm.
He's talking about this
Yeah.
county road.
Then the crack filling map
west.
shows the roads
Yeah,
that we're doing this
'cause
year.
it goes all the way to the Swift County line.
One.
That's two.
For crack fill, Mr.
Yep.
Miller, for crack filling, you have almost 500,000 total feet.
Yep.
So roughly how many miles is that?
10 miles.
Let's see. 5,000.
9.5.
180 feet in a mile, so 10 miles.
Mhm.
10 miles? Okay.
You got her on there?
Give or take, yeah. I mean, I'm just curious.
20-some
Could be
miles,
100
isn't it? 44 miles.
How many?
Huh? Oh, my math is off.
I got, oh, wait, no.
It's
That's
100.
more than that.
And then in the city, you're looking at,
495.
what is that, 19th Avenue from
Yep.
First on over
Mm-hmm.
for the crack filling.
You say 44 miles?
That's,
I
having
come up with,
lived on
when you
that
come with those
street,
feet, then it's
the
93
last time that was done made such a difference.
Yeah.
Or is it both
Oh, my
sides?
goodness.
Yeah, it cracked
Count twice or?
faster than we anticipated, so that's why it got bumped into this.
Yeah, yeah.
That's Minnesota.
Yeah. But that's our proposed deals for this season.
Okay.
Don't plan on any vacations.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, you got a lot going on. That's great.
refresher, Jet Black got our crack sealing, Pearson Brothers got our seal coat. You know, if you go to this page, that small handout I gave you. Like I say, we're in the reclaiming portion of our deal here, but you'll see as you go down, things we started to do, we're putting in the docks and the accesses, repairing them right now. You know, we'll haul gravel on the roads and the chloride spots. As soon as restrictions go off, we'll start on that. Trails, we've got them swept, we got the intersection swept. Tomorrow and Thursday, we'll be doing the towns throughout the county, Sunburg, Blomkist, Avea, Roseland. Any areas where there's curb and gutter throughout the county, we'll be picking up. So. It's hard to line people up to do that. We rented out, you know, it costs us $7,000 a year. So we're hoping in the time frame to get things done in a timely manner, it'd be good for the county forces to be able to do that ourselves. So we're hoping with saving money in other areas, it'll go help purchase a pickup room for us.
Are you laying the groundwork for a sweeper?
I think he was. Sounded like a blatant hint. It wasn't even subtle.
Yeah, I think I heard this one.
It would work perfect for trails, parking
Oh,
lots,
there you go.
everything.
You thought I was thinking.
Well, we had someone talk about the walking path by Games Lake, that they would like somebody to take care of that all year round, you know, snow removal and everything, so something to think about.
Yeah,
Sweeping, like Sunburg, they always like to have that done before they're sitting in my,
correct.
so you can put them off a little bit.
Yep. Mhm. Yeah.
It's all right, good job.
Mhm. You know, just gotta put a stab in there once in a while.
You can't, don't get nothing if you don't ask.
In our mowing projects, we're in the process of getting things ready to start doing that. You know, it won't be till June before we start any mowing. And we try to get the lake areas and roads to those by July 4th mowed down. And of course, we're always aware of people that want to hay.
Yeah,
So we hold off on those roads. We kind of know where that is.
I kind of know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair,
Councilor Gardner, please.
just a quick question. So how does that align then, when we're talking about mowing, I assume you're talking
Right of ways.
the right of way next to the road.
Yep.
I know that we're going to be hearing about the Monarch plan here pretty quick, so that's a time where I believe the milkweed is just starting to come up. So how do you kind of balance all that? Because I know you need to
Yep.
do it for safety, but
From May to September, is it? There's no mowing, but prior to that, we can still cut our top 6 feet, 15 feet. The rest we have to leave alone. So we're able to do our safety stuff all the time.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You know? And, you know, we're working on the parks, the maintenance, all that stuff. We're trying to address things on the very bottom there, things we need addressed, and more crack filling, culvert replacement on a lot of our gravel roads and bituminous. There's probably about 65 miles right now that culverts are 50, 60 years old that are starting to fail, rusting out. So that's one of our big priorities that, you know, we don't have enough time allotment right now to get that with some other projects, but that's something we need to do, and we would like to take more spraying of our right-of-ways, tree removal, keep them clean, and of course patching as always. That's a never-ending issue with some of our roads. And of course, there's always other things that pop up in the meantime, you know, you have storms, beaver dams, right-of-way repair, you know, and there's people that, we've had issues with kids mudding around in the road ditches now that we have to repair and different things. So there's just all kinds of little things that arise that are not foreseen. But any other questions as needed? Did I touch everything, Mel? Can you think of?
Oh, well done. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you.
That's those track, the Y project,
Oh, okay.
if you want. Maybe
Yeah.
you can keep passing it down there.
Okay, sure.
What's this now?
Mr. Chair, I think in my mind, and when it comes to the maintenance, the takeaway is we're doing things a little bit differently than maybe we have. Like, we're reclaiming shoulders a lot more in the last few years. We spend about $200,000 on graveling, and if we can reduce that by 80 miles, you know, we're going to be saving pretty soon $50,000 to $100,000 in graveling. And so we always look, you know, we don't get more money, you know, we don't like to raise taxes. So what we're trying to do is become more efficient in what we do internally. And so that's one thing. And then we're starting to look at our 65 miles of corrugated metal pipe that are 50 and 60 years older, because we know that their useful life is at the end. And then we're also looking at output dollars. And I know Larry picked up on it very well. It was pretty good. But we spend sweeping, you know, as we got our 22 plus miles of trails, you know, we committed to a trail plan, but we have to sustain it. You know, and so it's like, you know, what are the mechanisms that we can do to become more efficient to accommodate our sustainable infrastructure? And that's what we're trying to portray to you, if you will. And so that's some takeaways that I want you to think about.
Okay. Thank you. Well, next I call upon Mr. Ingleby.
Actual acreage of those
Well, I
tracks.
can hold it down if you want. Oh, go ahead. Here, just,
I wrote it down. Oh, I know where I wrote it. Okay. Where are we here?
Good information. Just take one of these, right?
so this must be Dwayne's.
Take one.
Yeah, just about.
A lot of it is, isn't it? Yep.
Not quite all of it.
No, I go up to here.
Thank you. Can I give those to you? Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. Thank you for your time. My report today is on the Drainage Department, and I'd like to share with you some of the things that we've done in 2020, some of the accomplishments, some of the challenges maybe, and then where we see the department going from here forward for 2021 and maybe a little bit beyond. I have a PowerPoint presentation. It should be on your screens there. And so the next slide shows kind of a humorous picture. There is what I saw in the rearview mirror quite often all summer long. And the statement in the mirror there, objects in the mirror are closer than they appear, certainly true. 2020 has been a challenging year for a variety of reasons, but we did make it through it, and hopefully, well, the good news is it can only get better. The accomplishments, as you can see, 105 projects were completed out of the 124 that were scheduled, and what you have in front of you, this spreadsheet, is a list of all my projects that I had for the department. They ranged from simple beaver trapping, beaver dam removal, to major ditch cleanouts and major tile repair. I have about 14 or 15 contractors that I routinely work with and to get projects like this done. And we made a lot of progress last year. A very good construction season, and a lot of things got done. What didn't get done last year is on the docket for this year, and I've already got a dozen or so projects so far this year to be done. So it was very active year, and some projects were quite lengthy and quite expensive, but if we don't do them today, they'll be more expensive tomorrow, just like our roads. Since 2010, we've completed the redetermination of benefits on 52 drainage systems, and there are roughly 32 remaining. Now, those 52 started out as 52 separate systems, but through the redetermination of benefits process, we can consolidate branches and laterals of the same system into one system. Makes it a lot easier from an accounting standpoint and a management standpoint to do that. A little while later, I'll go through this 11 by 17 colored map of the county and explain that in a little bit more detail. And thankfully, I can say that the Grass Lake project is in its final phase. So am I. One of the most common projects, as you can see here, concrete culvert separation. We have literally dozens, if not hundreds, of concrete culvert over or in a county drainage ditch, a crossing culvert. These were put in several years ago. Why they didn't tie them together when they put them in is beyond me. But they have a male and a female end, they slide together, and if they weren't tied together, now they're separating, and now we're coming in. The picture on the left there shows you where all the dirt goes through the cracks into the ditch system, floats downstream, causes issues. So now we repair those. We open the culvert up, slide them back together. The contractor either puts a U-bolt or a strap to keep those together. Here again, pay me now or pay me more later. And this is exactly what we're up against. But these contractors know what they're doing, and we're getting a lot of these done. The next one, pretty common thing I see is gully erosion, where water has come across the surface of land, usually on farmland, sometimes from parking lots, roads, and it'll hit the ditch bank, and it'll make a gully through the ditch bank. To fix that, oftentimes we put in a drop inlet pipe, which is simply a tile intake. We put it on the back side of the ditch bank, build up the ditch bank, and then run an intake with a horizontal pipe going to the ditch. So when it does rain and the water comes to that low area, it's forced down that intake, and then it takes the water to the drainage ditch instead of overtopping the bank and causing more erosion. In the next slide, you can see here on the left is a prime example of poor installation. And where the hole is in the foreground was an intake, and then through that tunnel was a horizontal pipe that went to the ditch system. Well, just by looking at this picture, I can see that exactly what had happened. The contractor put in the pipe, the riser, and then quickly backfilled, did zero compaction. So then when he got it up so high, then he started going across back and forth with a skid loader, which is exactly what was compacted there by the skid loader, which is still bridging, hanging in there. But when the rain came, since there was no compaction down below it near the pipe, washed it all out. We have to redo it. In this case, I told the contractor he needed to fix it and not to send me a bill. Back in that other picture, Jeremy, over the several years, even in previous jobs, we've been putting in rock inlets. So instead of putting that tile intake, that vertical tube, tile intake, we'll put in a trench of rocks, usually 12 to 15 feet long, 2.5 to 3 feet deep. The water is forced through that rock, and then it reaches a tile, and then the water goes into the ditch system. If I can design these such that it does not cause problems with standing water and crop damage, they're a great water quality tool to use. It keeps the debris out of the tile system. It traps the sediment, leaves it on the landscape where it belongs, and then farmers don't really have to go around them, or it's not just an open tile intake, which I don't like those very often unless we absolutely need them.
Mr. Endek,
So those rock inlets, is there a bit of a basin there then too, or do you try to keep it pretty flat with the grade?
We actually like to hump them up.
Hump it.
Because then the debris floats to the edges and it
Stop.
settles out there
I
instead
wonder
of.
how you kept the silt from filling in
Right.
the basin. Thank you.
But after 10 to 15 years, just like your air cleaner or your car, they need to be either cleaned or replaced
You just need to do the perimeter then where the,
in most cases. But sometimes if you've got a landscape with lighter soils, that light soil material will fill up that rock trench. You either pull it out and put fresh rock, clean rock in there is usually the case, right? But I like those. And matter of fact, if these rock inlets go in the Hawk Creek watershed project area, if they've got conservation funds available, they'll cost share with me 50% on every one of these rock inlets that we do. So that saves the ditch system 50%. And they love them because their water quality, they get their water quality credit for that. So it's a good partnership. And this is on a joint ditch number 1 down by Lake Lillian, where there's not much of a ditch bank to speak of. You don't have a ditch bank to build up and put an intake on the backside. So this was my solution to that situation where there was a gully forming. So I had a spillway cut through there, a flat bottom spillway. And then these blankets of concrete squares, which are spaced about an inch, inch and a half apart, you lay that blanket through there, and that's what the water runs over and reduces or eliminates that gully. So where there's no ditch bank at all, this works great. The left side of that picture, you can see that somebody had been down there stabbing carp and they threw them up on the bank. I just thought that was kind of comical.
I was wondering if that worked as a carp ladder.
Yeah, I figured that. Right. Next one, Jeremy. Stream barbs and stream bank erosion was really common in the southeast part of the county, actually the entire county, but we had a lot along JD1 or the South Fork of the Crow River. Last year was a perfect time to get these projects done. When we had large rain events, fast snow melts, we had a lot of stream bank erosion. So this is one of the ways that I rectify that is to put in stream barbs, which are these concrete precast things you see in the picture. They're pointed slightly upstream. It forces the energy of that water to the center of the channel where it's supposed to be, and then we fill in between them with riprap. 2 very large areas there, south of Lake Lillian, south and southeast of Lake Lillian is where we put those. And in monitoring them, I've been putting these in Chatumba Creek and several different areas, and coming back looking at them, they are holding up very well and they're working. We did have to touch one up on Chatumba Creek last year, but I think they're working great. And the next picture is on the same system, a little bit further downstream, just south of Trunk Highway 7. You can see the before and after there where the bank was eroded and how we came in and fixed, keeping that energy from the water from hitting that opposing bank, moving it back in the center where it should be. Okay. One of the challenges we have too is with county tile lines that happen to be through land that went into a conservation program, whether it be the CRP program or a permanent easement program. Oftentimes the property owners don't maintain the grasses and keep the grasses there only and keep the woody vegetation out of there. Now we have challenges with tree roots, brush, roots getting in there. In this case, I was fortunate enough to find this, have the trees cut down, the brush cut down before the roots got to the tile line to plug it up. Now, in this case, I had the trees and the brush cut back 75 feet on both sides of the center of that tile. And that area now will become part of my spray rotation. So when the crews come to spray the ditches for woody vegetation, they'll also spray that corridor over top of that tile line. So we just add that to our to-do list. The next picture I've entitled it Rock and Roll. There's quite a story here. This is by Prinsburg, a county tile that was not functioning really the way it should be. Farmer called me up and said, "It's got to be something going on. My farmland's not draining. I've got private tile. The county tile has to have a restriction." So with investigation, I decided, all right, we're going to open it up and I'm going to run a camera in there. And sure enough, we came about 500 or 600 feet from where we opened it up by an intake, and we found this large rock. And that's the rock sitting on top of that tile line.
Oh, on earth.
I don't know how that rock got in there, except for where we opened the tile up to run the camera was a 24-inch intake. So this rock was probably thrown down that intake, and over the years or over time, it rolled that 500 or 600 feet. And funny enough, the adjoining landowner told me he figured what had happened, because the landowner who called me didn't like what his neighbor was doing in terms of additional drainage improvements. So the guy who called me, he thinks, threw this rock down the intake, which is upstream of his tile. He thought he would slow down his neighbor's water so his water would go faster. Well, it backfired on him because it rolled 500, 600 feet, and it restricted the whole works. True or not, I don't know, but I thought it was a good story.
Yeah, it's a good story.
One of the challenges with the solar garden on Trunk Highway 7, just a mile and a quarter west of Lake Lillian.
Yes.
It came up, the energy company purchased a contract and an easement, and they got their ball rolling on this solar garden, and then someone brought it to their attention that there was a county tile line going diagonal across that site. Well, then they called me, and of course, everything had to be done right now. So we did the best we could to work with the solar company. They petitioned to reroute the tile. As you probably remember, we had a hearing on that.
Yeah.
The tile was put in. We appointed an engineer to oversee the construction. After the tile was put in, the engineer ran the tile again and found that the majority of that tile had distortion. It was installed improperly, probably backfilled improperly. So the tile had actually squashed, elongated, and of course that's going to weaken it. So we said, it's got to be done right. And a lot of controversy in this one. So those are the challenges. There again, we want to help things like this. I really like solar gardens and wind, but where they're appropriate and where they're planned better, I think that should be considered earlier on.
So where are you at on that then? I'm not clear.
Well, they gotta redo it, apparently.
This one,
You're going to redo it?
it's been redone.
Oh, it
Yep.
has been, okay.
Yep. I'm waiting to hear from the engineer on his report, on his final acceptance, really. And then we can kind of call this one good enough. And I think it'll be good enough, or it's good, or it's adequate. It's actually as good as it was prior, if not better. But it's just a series of challenges that have occurred in that respect. And the neighbors are and thankfully, they're right on top of things. They want to know exactly what's going on, and they'll call frequently. The next picture is of the outlet of that particular tile line, a picture of the tile inside the tile, and then a little picture of the camera and the little truck or tractor, whatever you want to call it, that scoots down that tile line. And the light and the camera in front of that can move in any particular direction, upside down, backwards, forward, and and this thing will document where every incoming tile line is. As you can see, the quality of that picture inside that line is very, very good. So it's not cheap, but it is cheaper than periodically having a backhoe open up the tile line and take a visual look at that tile. And then the Grass Lake Restoration Project, the main water control structure was completed last year, started in August and was completed in October. The picture you see here is the contractors preparing the base, putting in the weir structure, which this metal structure will be encased in concrete. So that adds additional strength. The outer ends, the two ends of this structure, the sheets that you see sticking above ground, were 40 feet long. And what you see there is about 14 feet sticking above the ground. The rest of it went in the ground, which was pretty impressive when I was watching them pound those in. Next picture shows, on the left there, look at all the rebar. It was just phenomenal how much rebar was there, and it was very close together, very large in diameter. And then the picture on the right, they poured the floor. When that was cured, they came back and they formed up the walls, which is in the next picture. Forming up the walls, and the picture on the left, the guy standing on top is actually they're pumping the slurry in the forms or in the walls. Just another picture on the upper right there of the walls. Next picture shows when the forms were pulled from the site, and that's me standing in the upper right next to the crest of where the water will leave the lake bed basin and then empty into County Ditch 23 and flow its way to Lake Wakanda. The bottom picture there is after the earthwork was done. You can see the shore flex material there that will take care of some wave action. The straw matting there was put down after it was seeded. In the lower right-hand side of that structure, you'll see a round opening. That's a gate, a 24-inch gate valve that will be used for periodic drawdown, which I hope to start in late summer, early fall, in anticipation of the need for using Grass Lake for snow melt in the springtime from Wilmer and other reaches. So we can manage this thing and not send a whole bunch of water all at once downstream.
Mr. Chair,
Uh,
so
Mr.
in the background, is that the old bridge?
That's a driveway ditch crossing to where Elliot Sletta used to live. So that's a private driveway crossing.
Right, I call it a bridge.
A bridge, yes, exactly. It's
And then
considered,
this is a fixed, well, other than the gate in there, this is, so that concrete where the water will flow over, that's level, it's always gonna be the same.
yep. And then when the water raises 6 inches, then it has the two wing walls of that structure to flow over. So now you're increasing capacity or increasing the volume that you're releasing from the lake. Yep.
Mr. Anderson, you had a question?
Who was the contractor on this?
Land Pride Construction did the water control structure. Yep, they did a very good job. Very, very good to work with too. So yeah, big project. I hope to shut that valve sometime this late summer, once we get some vegetation on the slopes, and then sit back and watch the water come up and the ducks. But next picture, some simple yet effective solutions, and I do have to say I'm very fortunate that we work really well with the maintenance department. Todd and his crew and I work back and forth on projects whenever our time allows. This was something that we put our heads together on a few years ago. This is the bridge under County Road 8 at the outlet of Little Kandiyohi Lake. Oftentimes, the cattail bogs and junk would float and get caught underneath that bridge, underneath the road. And then Todd would send a couple of guys out there to pull those out. They'd crawl underneath there. It was a safety hazard that we didn't like. And I thought, all right, let's find a solution. So I went to Runnings and I bought a 20 or a 22-foot gate, cattle gate, slid it in a makeshift guide that the maintenance department made. And now they can reach and pull the cattail bogs out of there with the backhoe and eliminate anyone having to get in that water. And so not only from a time standpoint, but a safety standpoint, we figured out a solution. The next one is on County Ditch 12, just northwest of the college. Interesting situation. We've got a county open ditch, then it goes into the county tile, and then through across a farm field, and then it dumps into a ditch again. Well, anytime you have an open ditch with trees on it, you're going to have branches, and branches and tile don't mix. So this was just a simple solution I came up with a few years ago. With the triangle piece on both sides now, you can back a backhoe down in there and pull the debris away parallel to those two fences, two gates, and then not have the debris get caught up in that tile line. So a simple solution there, and it really works. The next one of the challenges, this is Menards here right in Wilmer. A while back, Menards contacted the city of Wilmer. They wanted to expand this part of their driveway or lot. They wanted to expand it north or to the right 15 feet. Well, they're already on top of the ditch bank. It's no longer a county ditch, but the city and I worked really closely together on this one. They wanted to push for a variance. We talked about them closing up that part of the ditch. It's going to be very challenging. I wish they would try and figure out another location to expand if they need to expand, but we have a county ditch and a county tile upstream of this, so we have a very strong vested interest in this, and we've been working with the city quite a bit. This may come up again, and if so, that I'll keep you folks involved if we have to make some decisions in that regard.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lauren, you may not know this, but I'm just curious. Is this part of the area that the city was talking about using some of their local option sales tax dollars for stormwater abatement?
I believe right behind Menards, I think that's correct. I think that's the area where one of the areas that they were considering for some stormwater.
Behind being
West.
to the west.
To the west, yep.
Okay, because I know that ditch runs parallel right next to Southside Park there.
Right, and I believe that's the area out in the farm field, south of the park, where it's low enough to where it could be used perhaps as a stormwater retention pond.
Okay.
Yeah, yep, that's the area. The next challenge, one of the challenges is buried utilities. This happens to be along County Road 5. Utility company comes along, plows in a new line. The orange line there is a new fiber optic, and then right below that is a black line. I believe that's a communications line. It traps vegetation, grass, whatever flows down. Finally, it plugs it up solid. This one's plugged up solid. Nothing drained on the other side of the road. So I opened it up. We shined a flashlight in there, and this is what we saw. So generally, when I call the contractors, they'll come out and fix them. This one was a bit challenging. Contractor wasn't real happy, but never asked, never knew where lines were. Well, they did know where lines were. In this particular case, this was a road reconstruction project. But there again, they have to come back, fix it. So the next slide, what's ahead? How many of us remember seeing or hearing or saying this to our kids? Don't sit so close to the TV, it'll damage your eyes. Well, in 2021, we've got gadgets like this fixed to our face and seem to forget about what Mom and Dad were never right, were they, when they told us that? Anyway, interesting. Next one, I believe we are at a point where we can sunset or come close to sunsetting the redetermination of benefits process. As you can see on the map, the areas in pink or magenta color are the areas of the county that we have completed the redetermination of benefits. And I'll say that, not the worst of the worst, it's not the right way to say that, but these are the areas that were of utmost importance and the greatest need to do redetermination of benefits on these areas. The green areas, those systems should be completed, and we should have hearings on those come June, sometime this summer. So we'll have those completed. The yellow area is right now in the works in talking about that with Chippewa and Renville County. There are about 15 or 16, 17 different systems, branches and laterals. And we may consider pulling the drainage authorities together for those systems and ordering a redetermination of benefits, appointing viewers to do those. Now, the reason why I say I think we can slow down or stop is because I've looked at some of these other systems that are not colored, and one of two things. We either don't have the landowner support, which to me is probably the most important thing. We don't have their support to do a redetermination of benefits, or they're small enough systems where I look at that and I say, these benefits and the reports might be old. They might be 50, 60, 70 years old. But by spending the thousands of dollars that it takes to do a redetermination benefits, in my opinion, is probably not worth it. And in talking to some of those property owners, they would agree. We're not going to pull in that many more acres. If we do pull in that many more acres, it's the same people who own the ones that pay into the ditch system would be paying also on those acres. So my opinion, I don't think it's money well spent. I'd hate to just do that process just because. So as you can see, we've got greater majority of the county, the highest need ones either done or near to be done. What's coming up, I really hope that we can consider Grass Lake finished this fall. And the next thing, well, just to continue our proactive drainage system maintenance and repair. And it's been said several times, we need to take care of these systems locally, or someone sitting in St. Paul or in Washington with a suit on that's never been on a farm will make the decisions for us, and we do not want that. We can manage them.
I just have a question on the gray area in Alexander Township, because that's emptying into the Norway Lake, and it's really impairing that lake system.
Right.
Is that a problem we have with the landowners that we can't, is that ditch 27? I'm just trying to remember.
That is correct. That is ditch 27. Now, yes.
Didn't we have in that general area, we had a redetermination of benefits already?
Shakopee Creek, yes.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, in regards to a redetermination of benefits, that system already has the buffers by law, Governor Dayton's law of 2017. That should already have the buffers. So from a redetermination of benefits standpoint, there wouldn't be any water quality benefit that would come out of a redetermination of benefits. I believe that system should be done, but we've got so much opposition there that, okay, it's your system. We don't have to do this, but so
it's creating a lot of downstream.
It sure is. So the BMPs are the best management practices, the storage basins, the wetland restorations, and those types of conservation practices would do far more for water quality in Norway Lake than a redetermination of benefits.
Okay.
Would certainly.
Thank you.
Yes. The next one, I've been starting to put up these signs where county tile lines cross public roads. We have several hundred of these throughout the county, so I have a stack of them in my truck, and if I'm out and about, I'll pound in a half a dozen a day, and then I won't get to them then for another month, but a little bit at a time to show not only the property owners, but utility companies where these tile lines are and the phone number they can call to get more information. And the last one, this is how I feel quite often at the end of the day. You work on that tree, you work and you work and you work for, then have it fall on you.
Quick question.
Yes.
Beavers, I saw other reference to beavers and they're a bigger issue than I realized.
They're
huh?
terrible, absolutely
Gosh,
terrible.
okay.
They'll back up a ditch. I mean, even if trees aren't around, they'll use corn stalks and mud and back up 2 to 3 feet of water. They're terrible. And the fur price, there's nothing in the fur price, so we do pay a bounty. So $75 per animal pays a little bit of their gas and a little bit of their time and their traps and their lures, but they do it for the enjoyment, not for the fur. So luckily, we have those folks.
All right. Well, thank you for the.
Any
very
questions
good-
for me?
Oh, any further questions from anybody?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very well done. And
You know, the county didn't kill that beaver. Or beaver.
no, good, yes. No. Okay. Well, now I'd like to call upon Angela Hopp. And I think you get to be cleanup with probably one of the most positive approach, with most positive appeal to people with butterflies. I just can't believe all the good news and how people picked up on what the county's doing in reference to the butterfly update.
More paper?
More paper, boy, we killed
Yeah,
trees.
more paper, yeah,
Maybe those trees were blocking a ditch somewhere.
yeah.
This is why we need industrial hemp.
There you
Well,
go.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Angela.
I don't know if I should say you saved the best for last or,
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk today about buffers, about the buffer law. So I did check with Soil and Water, and there was no change from last fall as far as what our compliance percentages are, and I believe it was 99%. We did have one non-compliant late last summer. That was delivered to me, and I just made a phone call and asked them to fix it and waited a little bit, and Soil and Water went out and checked, and it was put back in place. So that one's been resolved. No notice was sent, so that was all good. I
Great.
was happy that it could be done that way.
I think some counties have had problems.
Yes, as we saw, as Renville County does.
Yep.
All right, so on to the monarch butterfly CCAA. So if you turn over, if you haven't already, the sheet that Mel gave you. There's a few items on there. I never personally can remember what CCAA stands for, so I wanted to make sure that was on there. So candidate conservation agreement with assurance. So our certificate of inclusion was fully executed on April 12th of this year. Includes 650 miles of county aggregate and bituminous roads, which equals to 3,939 acres. And we are required for an adoption rate of 5%, which is 197 acres. And all of the ROW that will be entered into the program is strictly voluntary. I think that may be the one thing that seems to be confusion with that resident letter that was mailed out. So we have a 3-year implementation of the program, which will begin this summer. Mel and I and Todd had a bit of a discussion, and at least one of the guys from the road crew will be going out with me kind of in their area, what they take care of, and we're going to be knocking on doors to discuss personally with the landowner that they're okay with what we're planning on doing. And if they're not home, we're actually going to develop a hanger, a door hanger, so that all the information that we're looking for and a number for them to contact us at. The county, I divided the county into 3 monitoring areas, and we will do 1 area annually. And the monitoring schedule would ensure that all of the targeted needs are met within the required 5 years. And the prohibitions are, no cutting or mowing from May 15th to September 20th. Now, we can still go out there and do some spot spraying if there's some invasives there. Todd and his guys they're going to take care of it. So I think that's another thing that was a bit of concern for any of the landowners also, was the fact, was everything just going to be let to go wild, and then they were going to have problems? Those are the questions that I've been asked, and I would assume Mel has been too. And no ATV use within those right-of-ways either. So I also wanted to add that, that we will be contacting landowners personally as much as possible. And the front of that sheet that you have is a sign that Kubi has developed for us to put into the right-of-way to designate where those habitat areas are. Monitoring consists of doing stem counts, so very similar to crop scouting. So right up my alley. So I need to develop a form to fill out, and we do have to do monitoring, I think it'll be after January of next year, to the University of Illinois as far as what we have, and if we're not meeting our targeted needs, what we're going to do to fix that. And potential plantings as needed may be needed to fulfill the program requirements. So we'll have to see how that goes. And as far as public outreach, once we get the ball rolling, we will be looking for assistance and input from other groups and individuals to assist us with this program. We've had, I don't know, about at least five groups, individuals who have offered to do classroom, to help us, all of that kind of thing. And I'm looking forward to that, but first we got to get this started and get the ball going. Bottom line is, the goal of the program is to assist in the prevention of further population decline of the monarch butterfly. There are a lot of other benefits to the county, but that really is the number one goal. So, questions?
Commissioner Emdek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Angelica, are we going to have some of these planted by fall? Is that what I'm understanding from this schedule? Is that first third or whatever of the 3 monitoring areas, will that get planted this fall or this summer already?
We may have to, but it depends on what we're finding for counts, as far as stem counts of the existing milkweed plants. So we have 5 years to come into compliance. So it isn't necessarily that each area has to meet the targeted need, the whole county needs to. So over the next 3 years, when we're monitoring all 3 of those areas, that may meet the 5%, whereas this first area that is done this year may not. So we have 5 years to come into compliance. It isn't that every single year we have to meet the compliance schedule, so to speak.
So maybe I didn't make myself clear there. Do we plant them, or do you just, are they naturally occurring and we're just stop mowing and then we do a census to see whether or not there's milkweed out there? Or are we going to actually go out there and seed it in?
We will use what's already there existing. If it does not meet what is required by the program, then we will have to seed.
And where did I see or hear someplace that somebody pays pretty good money for a bushel of milkweed seed?
I'm not sure.
No, somebody told me they pay pretty good money for that, but I don't know, I think not for me. Oh, Scott Gloop was telling me that.
Scott who?
Scott Gloop.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just a comment, if I might.
Proceed.
Talk about seeding milkweed. We had a scenic byways state meeting here a couple of years ago, and they had us all making milkweed bombs out of little clay thing and loading them up with, and then they would just drive along or fly over and drop these things, and eventually the milkweeds would grow. And so it's interesting, and probably finding the seeds would be the major problem.
Yeah. I got an acre lot. I've been trying to do milkweed seeds and with not much luck.
Oh, yeah?
But
Come out to
a
the
few,
store,
but
Corky. come out to the store, I can get you milkweed seed.
And tell me how to plant them though, or make them work. Yeah.
If it's like other native species, it takes, so people who are planting like pollinator planting, like for bees or for butterflies, it takes 3 years for it to come into its own and look like
Oh.
it's something more than a weed patch. So don't get too upset that you're not seeing what you are expecting to see.
Well, Roger, you got, well, I'll have to visit you.
You
Okay,
gotta
thank
quit
you.
hoeing it up every year.
Yeah, oh, that.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Mel also wanted me to bring up, we have been invited to participate on a national conference. I don't remember the name of it.
Neither does Mel.
As panelists for the Monarch program
Ah, okay.
in September. Now, of course, we're both disappointed that it's not in person because it was in, what, Arizona, Sacramento, something
Oh,
like
well,
that.
that is a bummer. Okay, well, that is a compliment though. That is a compliment for,
I don't know if I can find it here.
But, Mr. Chair, it's, we were the first county enrolled in the program
yeah.
In Minnesota or the
No.
country?
In the
in
nation.
the nation.
Wow.
And that's why they wanted us to be panelists on this conference.
That is just awesome.
Did you find it?
Well, he sent me something in an email, I'm trying to find it in there somewhere.
I'll cover it for you.
Can't find it.
While you're looking, maybe one of you, you'd mentioned Angelica, Mr. Chair. So what are some of the other benefits to the program besides what we're doing to mitigate habitat loss for the monarch?
So unfortunately, if the butterfly would be listed, because I work with the other things that I've done previously, cultural resources investigation has to be done for a farmer who's looking to do some, put in a manure pit. And that would be something that would impact any of the roads, road construction done in Kandiyohi County. Now, Minnesota DOT is also enrolled in this program. So,
The center, that's it. See right there, see, and look in the mirror. Sorry. I can zoom out a little bit, it's easier.
so International Conference in Ecology and Transportation.
Mr. Chair, I would advise that
Vincent.
you're not available this year, but you could be available next year.
Yes.
Because by that time, they'll do it in person.
Okay, there you go. Well, thank you very much. Very good presentation, and it's great to be first in some things like this. This is very positive.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Angelica, did you have Paula Moore address your,
Yeah, 2 more minutes.
Long days, aren't they?
did you have Paula Moore
And then
address your tomorrow class?
I'm going to say something about Ken.
Slightly easier now, I don't know if that's more.
I sent her a message about this program.
Today's
Contact you guys to do on this. That's why I was hoping we'd have some spots.
I seen it. I think I'm at it.
3:30, between 3:30 and 4.
Well, good.
I think no matter what happens,
Yeah.
All right, getting back to order here. All right.
Sorry.
Not a problem. Mr. Owens. One more piece of paper and coming to an end.
Can we put this up on the screen?
I will.
I've got 2 more potentially small projects, but yet something I want to bring to this board. The first one is the Eagle Lake Homeowners Association is requesting donation of some benches. So we will be bringing a formal resolution to this body once we work out the details. But I just wanted you to know that that's coming. So this is on the eastern part of the lake, on the trail, on our
No
trail.
details yet about,
What's that?
no details about how it's gonna work and the cost.
No, I just wanted to throw that out there, just, oh, no, they're gonna cover all the cost. There's no cost to the county other than they just need permission from the county board to accept the donation and put it on our trail property.
But I mean,
So,
are they gonna be selling or
no,
plaques or,
no, this is not, no, this is
just strictly,
strictly the homeowners association, yep,
okay,
2 benches.
they got a good organization there, I understand.
Yeah, they do.
And then the last thing I'd like to bring up is a project that's coming up next year, but one of the things that we're going to be asked to do is to enter into a co-op agreement with the state.
You want that one, or you want?
No, oh, no, maybe we do this one. Can you do this one?
That's the one he's got. You want me to zoom it so you can
No,
zoom?
yeah.
Okay.
I think Zoom, because you can Zoom.
Almost perfect.
Work session. So the J-turn next year, the New London J-turn, what we've been working on with the state and the city is the various aspects of this project. And we've been talking about this project with the county for 2 or 3 years. And one of the things, the main crux of the project is the J-turn. And then we have our County Road 22 that comes in, right, or County Road 22, County Road 40 that comes in here in 22. And then also with that, we've agreed to do a pedestrian underpass here to accommodate future safety concerns of, it's in our trail plan, if you will, to do the loop routes with Green Lake. This is a critical connection that crossing the road. So, but as the co-op agreement and the costs come together, that's where I wanted to bring it to this board because costs are maybe higher than what we thought. And part of it is because of various agreement processes. So we've been working with the state on some of the co-op agreement numbers. You can maybe take it off of this now.
Before you take that away, for the purpose of orientation, where is Bethesda going up?
Right, so about right there.
Okay, thank you.
Really?
So in the co-op agreement, there's dollars that get assigned to this. And one of the concerns that we've been hearing and is that we knew that this pedestrian underpass is going to be right in that $1 million range. But when you look at various other costs, it's creeping up higher because of storm sewer, paving costs on 23, retaining walls, mobilization, contingencies. And so I wanted to bring it to this board that cost is getting considerably higher than $1 million. And so I'm looking for a little reaction from the board on limiting dollars or cost participation, or I know I've heard from some people that some of it's negotiable, if you will, and we've been trying to do good faith negotiation, but I just want to make sure that the board is aware of some of these costs. And I don't know if me and Larry want to talk to, or you want to approach that. So any questions?
Is this road, is that one of the local sales tax
This is a local option sales tax project, yep. This is all part of that connection of 40. And then the thought is the J-turn by its nature is a safety project. The trail connection at the country stop is a trailhead. And by the nature of our trail plan, this is an integral link to the Green Lake Loop system. And the Bethesda and the clinic and the future houses in that area and all the houses down by the golf course have no way to get safely across 23. And with 23 being promoted as an interregional corridor, and the Highway 23 Coalition is promoting it for more heavy commercial and safety, what we don't want to do is have a pedestrian at-grade crossing is where our logic has been going with the state and the city. But, we also need to be conscious of costs that went from million to $1.7 million. But there's a lot of costs getting applied to this project, like the storm sewer and paving and so.
And what's your timeframe that you need to see that?
The co-op agreement is out and the plans are out for review right now at the 60% level. And so they want comments back, probably next week on where we might stand on this. And then.
Commissioner Nissen.
Should we commit on the local option sales tax to this project?
$1 million.
$1 million. So we gotta find 700,000 somewhere.
Administrator Kleinwald? We already got.
Well, I think we got to meet with our partners, but on a project like this that we've been talking about for over a decade, a board never regrets for doing something with pedestrian safety. They always regret not doing something for pedestrian safety on the first accident.
Thank you for the extra pressure.
Local option sales tax, we can extend it.
I know.
But I mean,
Yes. No, it really very well made point. It is. And plus, it's not only the safety factor too, but adding it to the loop, and tourism is our second industry, and adds to that, because builds on it all. But, okay.
So I bring that up because these are things that we're struggling with that's going to come to this board for agreement purposes. And, I think that maybe Larry and I and the chair or the vice chair or whatever, we can go and, I don't know, we got to resolve this because
you gotta sit down with your partners.
Yeah.
Like Volker, well, they'd say.
Need another open winter.
yeah. So that's all of the things that I have on my agenda.
Well, I have something before we finish, but I really want to thank Mel and all of you. What an excellent, maybe it's because we're doing a lot, and it's more and more understandable every year. I'm a county commissioner, and it's very well laid out, and very important stuff we're doing. And we are really lucky we have you and your department and your staff doing that. I was saying that again. Before you leave, though, I did want to share something. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, better. Push it out of my way. Mr. Kleindall gave me some information. I just want to pass it on. And I was going to read it or share it immediately before we started our meeting today, and I forgot right in the middle of it. And we should really live on ended on the positive of monarchs. But I do have some sad information that Mr. Gary Danielson, your predecessor, who's been very, very sick, apparently is not doing very well, and has made a decision and has gone into hospice. So, and everybody's thoughts and prayers, I would appreciate that very much. I'm sure the family's asked for that. And it's a long-term employee who was retired that we're going to be missed, and laid a lot of groundwork for what you're doing before you. Okay, thank you. If nothing else, I will hereby adjourn the Kandiyohi County work session on roads and bridges. Thank you.